Hey guys, good morning. I want to bring your attention to a couple things on charts here really quick. Just a basic chart of the S&P SPY ETF. Really interesting how we're kind of in a different channel here and it's starting to bend again. I'll keep it simple. There's two channel lines that I've been drawing. One is a little bit of a lower tier, and then the other one is a little bit of a momentum line to the top end. There's a third line that I'll show as well that we're kind of pushing through. But this price action is kind of more indicative of a boom-bust cycle in an economy. You can't go this high in a market, get this stretched out, and then go through a baseline, slightly upward trajectory, and then just keep pushing up higher without something being behind this move. So we don't have the economic news out yet this morning on CNBC. I think that comes out at 8:30. I wouldn't be surprised if it's fairly strong, but the action we're seeing now is quite remarkable. You can see the channel line starting to change. This is a channel I've been using, kept the outliers out on the top, kept some of the outliers out on the bottom. Once again, we want to make common touches. We don't want to miss any of these touches on the bottom. And you can see how we started to dip down here. We broke through that intermediate channel line and then hit the lower channel line. We broke back up through it, retested it, and then now we're actually starting another trajectory at an angle higher than any of the prior lines. So super interesting movement. And the S&P 500 here, super bullish pre-market. And I'll show you the second line that I'm looking at, the top tier, and kind of figure out where we're going, because we've already hit my S&P top target and we're pushing through, so we're definitely getting a little bit overbought here. We have been for a little while. So here's the top line that I'm talking about. It's what I call momentum line. Talked to a couple traders yesterday about where the momentum line is, and we just pierced it. We've seen it go. We've seen us breach it to the top side before, but we've pulled back. Usually we kind of waft around through it. You can't get those 3 days over. We had 1 day over here, we opened over, and then we failed. And you had the sharp dip here, not too bad. And we kept retesting that line. Maybe traders saw what I'm looking at here. I don't know, everybody charts different, but multiple failures out there. You have 1, 2, 3 tests of it on the line. The last test came on the 7th, and then we have another sharp dip. And then we have the resumption of the rally here. Now we're just starting to break above that line again. So a couple quick things could happen here. We could look at the weekly and see if we're starting to bend on the MACD and see if we got a continuation move. Obviously, if the news comes out negative on the economy, you're going to say this is just another overbought outlier, and they're going to pull back down into the lower channel. But you could also get a push through on the weekly and start to change things completely. Believe it or not, you could start moving into another leg higher, even from this trajectory that we've seen currently. So let's take a look at the weekly. And before I get out of the daily here, just keep in mind the overbought outlier is the top channel. Excuse me, is 230, 263.90 area, 263.90. So if we do get some good news here and we're getting a little bit overbought, that's an area that should show some big resistance, 263.90. So just a quick look at the weekly. It paints a little bit of a different picture. We're still within the channel parameters on the weekly, and we're pushing into the top end on the weekly since we haven't closed out the week yet, obviously. Once again, that puts you right up at the line I just talked about, 263.90, 264 area should pose some good resistance. And I'll follow up with an email on some of the individual stocks we're looking at, and maybe some new picks as well on some trending stocks. But just looking at the S&P 500, daily looks super interesting. Weekly still within the parameters, I would say. Let's take a look at the MACD and we'll close this email out. Weekly MACD looks good. We have the bullish cross back in September, continuation move, expansion, volume declining just a little bit. Obviously still midweek, so we can catch up there. Nothing looks bad here. It looks pretty good. And last but not least, the RSI definitely getting a little overbought here in the 81s. Haven't been too many times over the last 3 years on the daily. Weekly getting overbought. Highest RSI we've had on the weekly in quite a while. Take a look at the daily on the 3-year. Probably not as bad. Just starting to peek through on the daily here. I mean, we've had some areas up in the high 78s on the daily, and we're down around 72, 73. So a little wiggle room on the daily. Weekly getting a little bit overbought. Let's see how that news comes out and how we come into that top channel area.